So, as I stated earlier, in this part of his essay, Partha Chatterjee highlights different areas in the spiritual domain which help the nationalism to transform in the course of its journey, which gave dynamism to nationalism. And he discusses it with reference to Bengal because he's a Bengali person and he's well familiar with the history of Bengal. The first area he talks about is that of language. Anderson, suggests that it is not the language, not the race, not what we call one's religion that determines the national boundaries or nationhood. Here he says Anderson is entirely correct in his suggestion that it is print capitalism. We had a reference to it in the first part of our discussion. Print capitalism. Now you should understand by what we mean by print capitalism, what happened in England especially after the invention of the press, printing press. Do you remember when was the printing press invented and who invented it? If you are familiar with the history of English literature, it is in the 15th century. William Caxton invented the printing press, and from then onwards, books were printed, available in printed form, and that helped in the spread of literacy, in the spread of education. So you might be knowing in social linguistics, the standardization of language takes place. It is a particular process. A particular variety of the language is selected as the standard language through selection, codification, and acceptance. So that is what happened. When once it is codified, the language is accepted. So this is what we understand by print capitalism, the books which are available in the printed form. Today, in today's world, we talk about technology as a capital. Social media, those who control the social media can control the people. And we are carried away by that. In those days, those who wrote controlled the people. So, print capitalism provides the new institutional space for the development of the modern national language. I told you what happens exactly: selection of the language, codification of the language, acceptance of the language for different activities. That is what happens. So, this is what happens because of the print capitalism. Those who are in control of the print, the language, which their language becomes the national language or the language of the people. So it gave space for the development of the modern national language. However, the specificities of the colonial situation do not allow a simple transposition of European patterns of development. Okay, means when we talk about the conditions of India, Britishers earlier ruled from Bengal. Kolkata was the capital, Calcutta then time was the capital city of the East India Company, and later it was shifted to Delhi, New Delhi, in the latter phase. So the Britishers ruled over India from Bengal, from the land of Bengal. So Bengali language developed as a kind of language, but the situation was not so simple. Means it wasn't to be accepted as a national language by the Indian people. The way English was accepted in Britain, French was accepted in France, etc. That wasn't easy because India was a multilingual nation. In Bengal, for example, he says, it is at the initiative of the East India Company and the European missionaries that the first printed books are produced in Bengali at the end of the 18th century. And who took the initiative? The East India Company. and even the missionaries. So you can understand the intention. These books were produced in Bengali with the religious purpose for the spread of Christianity. They wanted the people of Bengal to read Bible and such religious scriptures of Christianity in their own language. Therefore, you see that what you call there are many converted Bengali families. They converted to Christianity. That is what happened in Bengal. And the first narrative prose compositions commissioned at the beginning of the 19th century. Okay, this is what happened. So it was the East India Company and the European missionaries who took initiative. And during the same time, the first half of the 19th century is when English completely displaces Persian as the language of bureaucracy. Earlier, Mughals ruled over India, you might be knowing, and Persian language was the language of bureaucracy. But when the East India Company took control of India, they replaced Persian language with English for bureaucracy. Bureaucracy means for administration. It became the language of court, it became the language of administration, etc. And during this period itself, in the first half of the 19th century, means from 1801 to 1850, let's say. So during this period, English replaced Persian and emerged as the most powerful vehicle of intellectual influence on new Bengali elite. You might be knowing that even many well-known families, Toru Dutt or what we say, Arbindo, Arbindo's family was converted to Christianity. Many Bengali aristocratic family got converted to Christianity because of their contact with English. It became the powerful vehicle of intellectual influence. Therefore, the Indian writing in English starts with Bengali people. Henry Desrosiers is considered to be the first Indian English poet. So the crucial moment in the development of the modern Bengali language comes in mid-century, after 1850, when this bilingual elite makes it a cultural project to provide its mother tongue with the necessary linguistic equipment. Means many Bengali people learned in English, they became elite class, and they started, they knew Bengali and English. They undertook project to provide their mother tongue with the necessary linguistic equipment to enable it to become an adequate language for modern culture. So Bengali people first learned elite class, first learned English, and then taking inspiration from English language, they started enabling their language to become adequate language for modern culture. So this is how you can see the change started taking place. So an entire institutional network of printing presses, publishing houses, newspapers, magazines, and literary societies is created around this time. This is what print capitalism is, which is outside the purview of the state and the European missionaries. So in this manner, the new Bengali language, modern and standardized version of Bengali language emerged. Okay, we shall see some part of this essay and we shall stop these four lines. So the bilingual intelligentsia means the Bengali elite who were familiar with Bengali language and English language came to think of its own language as belonging to that inner domain of cultural identity. They associated with spiritual domain. They associated with Bengali culture. And they started thinking that the colonial power has to be kept out of this domain. So language became a zone where the nation first had to declare its sovereignty. He says, It is in the field of language that the nation started declaring its own sovereignty. Okay, and then it transformed itself to make adequate changes to meet the needs of the modern world. So this is how we understand that language became the source of change, okay, through this print capitalism. We shall continue with the discussion in the next lecture.